Good morning, Prof. How are you today?
Good morning, Bibi. I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm very well. It's Sunday. It is sunny a bit. Not as warm as we
Well, but
saw
it's got warmer, right?
today.
I mean, as the days have gone by, it's got warmer and warmer, and we had,
Yes.
high double digits actually, or well, high teens,
Yeah.
this week,
Especially on
or
Tuesday
last
last
week.
week.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm fine. I'm very well. I'm excited. It's sunrise and it's another Sunday morning. So our viewers, welcome to you guys too. Thank you for joining us this morning. Hope you're well. Please let us know where you're watching us from, where you are, and comment. Just send us some messages. Let us read some of your comments here. So, Prof, it has been a very interesting week for me. I mean, like last week was very interesting. I was really busy doing different things. And one thing that I was thinking about, I started thinking about the word community. Like, I thought about, I wanted to register to come to church for service, right? On Sunday. And then I was like, actually, do you know what? What about people who aren't necessarily like ready to travel? Because I do have a journey, like I travel for an hour to get to church. And Bible says, do not forsake the gathering of the people. And for all this while, before the lockdown, we were going to church and everything. Then lockdown came. The next thing, we're not able to go anywhere. We had to worship online. So right now, I started thinking, okay, so it looks like our community as a physical gathering has been really impacted by this whole lockdown, this whole pandemic. And as much as, yes, there's been a lot of restrictions lifted so far, it's not like we're out of the woods yet. You understand? We're not hoping or praying that we'll go back on lockdown, but we know that the future isn't going to be what it looks like before. So things are changing. Now, I thought I would ask you this question in terms of community and how we used to gather in the past. So what it would look like in the future. What do you think that would look like? Because there's a slight difference to it now. Now we have online community. Like this morning, we have people watching us from all over the world, right? And they don't have to come into Rock Tower to join this show. So what do you think that means to us, and how do you see this playing out in the future?
So, good question, good point. And I think that's a question everybody's asking in this season, this period. I say season. Maybe it's more than just a season. I mean, 18 months, get into 18 months in 3 months or in a couple of months, it'll be 18 months, right?
Yeah.
So so that question is a question for today, and it's reflecting of how the paradigms for interaction have changed. And just picking up on what you said earlier, I think from the London Lighthouse perspective, we actually do have people right now who are part of the church, who are plugged into our life groups, who are outside the country. Okay. So we're not even talking about just a 1 hour, 2 hour drive. We're talking about people who are not in the country.
Thousands of miles. Yeah.
They are part of the events we do. They join our life groups and things like that. And that's a blessing, right? If you think of the biggest community of them all, in the scriptures, these are what you would describe today as virtual communities, at least for a person in the physical body. What do I mean? In Hebrews chapter 12, the Bible says you are come to Mount Zion, to an innumerable company of angels. Well, that's a virtual community because you're not physically there, right? You're spiritually there, right? So and it's innumerable. In essence, you're seeing that if you're going to be able to break through the physical barriers that constrain in so many ways, right? In 3 dimensions, length, breadth, height, all of that stuff, you have to go virtual. Okay. Yeah. And that's what we see. But then going virtual also introduces another dynamic, right? Because then the paradigm for a lot of the things that we know are shifting slightly.
Yes.
So the question becomes, what defines a community? That's the fundamental question that is being asked, right? What is community about? Is community about touch, handle, taste, right?
Yeah.
All of these elements of proximity. Is that what there is? Well, if that's the case, then that community that I just talked about, that's in Hebrews chapter 12, is not going to be a real community because we're not going to touch it, right? So surely that's not a community. That's not just the meaning of community. Of course, we can't divorce the physical elements from it because we're physical beings. We're physical people. We thrive on at least some level of interaction.
That's
I think the question that lies before us right now, and where I would like to start in perhaps addressing this, is how has our definition of that word community changed? How has it evolved over the last 1 year, 15 months now, so to be 18 months? How has that evolved, right? And I think that's the question. I'd like to get your thoughts as well on that. But for me to start, I would say previously, community was very much tied to a physical location. I know that everybody was somehow or the other part of some virtual community, but the definition or our practice and experience of a virtual community has changed since then. So I'll start from the physical part of it, right? So as far as church is concerned, our definition of community has always been linked in some way to a physical location. Right? Yeah. And that is even reflective of how our life groups have evolved. Okay. So for anybody watching, if you don't know what our life groups are micro communities. Okay.
That's right.
Small communities of people in church who fellowship together and do life together every week. Okay. Please reach out to the church office. If you're not plugged into a life group, reach out to the church office, reach out to us, reach out to me, and we can make sure you're plugged in. But when our life group started, right, over a year ago now, it was still linked to that definition of a physical. It was,
yes, because it had to be nearer to where you live and all of that.
Right, that was the paradigm within which we did things. Of course, that had its own limitations because as a church, if our physical location was at Tufnell Park, it means that those who are not as close to Tufnell Park, it becomes more and more difficult to identify with that community simply because you're not physically there. Right? Even if you are physically there, you're being physically there.
Only there for a few hours.
For a few hours in total every week. Even if you go to Sunday service and go to Wednesday service, which by then had also transitioned online. But even if you did Sunday service, Wednesday service, that's still going to be just a few hours in a week compared to people who actually live in the community and spend most of their time in there, right? So there was already that. So if you looked at then by the definition of that physical location and where you spent the majority of your time, there was already a little bit of a struggle when it came to identifying us with that community for many people, right? For those who live far away. On the other hand, for those people as well, there was also a little bit of a struggle on the other side because they didn't, go to church in a place near to where they lived. That aspect of community was also lacking. So it's like you're caught somewhere in the middle. You're not quite here, you're not quite there. But what's happened now is that all of that is shifting, right? All of that is shifting, and suddenly you're finding that, hang on, our fundamental definition of community is changing. It's changing because we're going back to basics. What is community about? Is community primarily about physical time spent together, or is it about ideals? Is it about fellowship? Right? In the sense of it, right? So being bound together by something greater than just location, physical,
being present in the same place.
The same way you would say the fact that I work with such a number of people in the same place, we spend a lot of time together. Does that make us into a community? Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't see yourself as part of that community simply because the greatest and the strongest ideals on which you base your decisions and your worldview and your life are not reflected by those people, so you don't see yourself as community. Right? So that means that our basic definition of community, we roll it back, we keep peeling it back like an onion until we get to the heart of it, the core of it. What is the core of community? I think that the core of community comes from shared ideals. Right? Shared objectives, a shared worldview, whatever that worldview may be. That's why you see people, right? You might see people who share a certain worldview and something happens concerning that worldview in one part of the world. And then you see them in another part of the world and they are reacting, right?
That's right.
You had, last one of the times we had a conversation, we talked about social activism and how it was that the Black Lives Matter movement and the trigger of it last summer happened across the Atlantic, thousands and thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
And you see people in different parts of the world who are responding. Well, they are not physically together, right?
Absolutely.
But they see themselves as a community in some way because they share ideals. So I think that's the key thing that's happened as a result of the situation we faced, where we've had to peel back layers until we get to the very core of what certain things mean. I mean, we're talking of community now, but the same thing with faith, right? Suddenly you find out that where faith, the practice of faith, has been defined in certain ways, encompassing so many things, you get to a point where you have to strip it back, pretty much like the early believers had to strip it back. What is the core of the faith? Because some of the other things that we surrounded it with, they are nice to haves, they are enhancers, they are facilitators, but they are not the core.
They are not, definitely not. Yes. So, Prof, I really like the way you answered that and how you spoke to it, because I think a few weeks ago, or even maybe a couple of months ago, we're discussing, just defining something and just saying this is what it means, and it doesn't change. So community for us now, we know that it's way beyond the physical gathering. It's beyond a location. It's now moving to virtual. So in the last, say, a year plus now that we've been on lockdown, we have had people join the church online, people who haven't even stepped into the rock tower before, right? And so I think as a people generally, because this is not just like applicable to just church, it's also applicable to everything. Like we saw parties being held on Zoom. We saw different things happening, things that people never thought could ever be done, without gathering, like putting people together in the same location, in the same place, have been done now. So my view is, going forward, if we are going to be ahead of the game, be it in our lives, in church, in work, and whatnot, we really need to embrace this virtual world that we are going to. And I just love it. For me, there's just something about it. I feel like we're able to reach more people than we would on a normal day, So if I was having, for instance, a party, I could only invite people who are like in London, for instance, or people who are in the UK. So if I was going to invite people in America, in Nigeria, from all over the world, a lot of people would not be able to make it, right? Because, the cost of traveling and the stress and all of this. But right now, I could just have a Zoom event. And regardless of what time it is, where you are, you can plug into that event. I have more people attending. Do you understand? So I see for me, this is the opportunity. And as we always say, well, for me as a risk manager, I always look at like emerging risks. What are those risks that are on the horizon that people are not really looking at? And I'll say that we have opportunity there. So understanding that community has changed, and it is going to change. It's going to continue changing. I mean, the virtual world maybe might be something else. As they're saying that currency now is going to be, the future of currency is crypto, as they say.
I don't know who said that. Some people don't agree.
Well, yeah, some people don't agree with it, but this is how this thing starts, right? Yes. So it's just, for me, it was just something I was thinking about as to, okay, how quickly can we step into taking advantage of knowing that this is the new normal? The new normal is virtual. How quickly can we respond to that and start to make, like our service, for instance? Honestly, I cannot get over the Good Friday service. I can't get over that service. Viewers, I'm sure you'd agree with me. That service, I can watch it 100 times over. Honestly, it was beautiful. I actually felt like I was in church. I was like physically present in church, but I was watching it at home on TV, So for me, it's like the experience. I feel like, oh yeah, church is online. We're going to be online. Well, I mean, we've been online all this while, but I just wanted to just say that, so that, because there is an opportunity for us, and it is important that we are able to move and adapt to the new normal as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's certainly liberating, as you said, because the constraints that are inherent in having a physical environment are to some degree, or to a great degree, lifted. right? So like you so succinctly gave the example, geographical location is no limitation and so forth. What that does mean, though, is that, you see, what we're saying here is that we're saying community has changed. In principle, it hasn't changed. The principle is exactly the same, because community has always been about shared ideals, shared objectives, shared goals, shared experiences. That's what community has always been. But the practice of it is what's changing, because we had linked community to a physical interaction. Now we see it doesn't need to be that. The technologies and the tools that we have are perhaps lagging a little behind. But what I see, and I say this, predicting this, I'm sure lots of people have said this, so maybe it's not such a great prediction, but in the next couple of years or so, you will see a lot of tools who have been racing to catch up with what you described as the new normal, to bridge that gap between the so-called physical experience and the virtual experience. Right? The destination is where it becomes so seamless that at some point you may not actually be able to tell the difference. Okay. And so what you're saying about trying to adapt to it, right? That's key. That's critical. That's to any organization. I mean, we in our professional lives, we have these conversations in different guises, but same conversation. How are you going to be able to be part of the future? Okay, not just about adapting. Sometimes you want to be part of shaping the future, right? What kind of future do I foresee? How can I get ready for it? And we're already doing that in the church, right? Because like I mentioned previously, because of the things we've already set up, people are able to join the church now from wherever they are. We have the website. By the way, please go to the website, have a look at it. There are buttons there, and there are there are places where you can plug in, right? You can sign in to be part of live groups. You can sign in to part of the training sessions. You can sign in to become a member on the website. So we have these things translated, and like you said, in the service experience, these things are still being built. Obviously, of course, it's all a work in progress. But there is that. I think that beyond the corporate context, okay, because this corporate context is a conversation that is good to be had, and we're going to keep having, as I said, not just from church, but organizations. But there's the individual context as well, okay? There's individual context. So for us, you see, previously, where the definition, one of the benefits of having that definition linked to the physical location was then there wasn't a dichotomy between what your community is and where you are. They were one and the same. But now we have a potential dichotomy where you can belong to a community and it's quite different from where you are. And so as Christians, where our mandate and what we are trying to do is to bring heaven to earth, right? Virtual community, because like I said to you, in principle, we as Christians, we are already part of a virtual community. That's why we say we are seated in heavenly places. But ultimately, what we always try to do is to bring that virtual community, translate it into an experience that those around us can feel. And the primary way of bringing that experience to those around us is through us. Okay, so we bring heaven to earth through us, channeling those experiences so others can be part of it. So the question for all of us really is, we are talking about how the practice of community is changing, how a lot of people are going to become more and more part of online communities, how it's going to become more and more common and normal to be a part of a community, even a really close community with someone for years and not having met the person, and that's fine.
That's right. The
question would be, though, we are still in a body, we're still going to live in places, right? And we're still going to have a physical environment where there are people around us. As we speak now, we both have neighbors, right?
That's true.
However close they are physically, we have neighbors to the right, to the left, sometimes to the front, to the back. Somewhere there are people that are close to us. When you go shopping, or you go to the supermarket or to wherever, to the parks, there are people around you. We're not going to ignore the people around us because we're part of an online community. Just the same way we don't say, "Oh, we're part of a heavenly community," and so we ignore the earth around.
Anything on earth.
Right? We don't do that. So the challenge for all of us, right? And this is something perhaps we can take this online. Actually, maybe we can have this on one of our Clubhouse.
SonRise, of course.
Yeah, because what we want to find out is, how do we navigate this? And I'm not sure we have the answers yet. The question is, how do we translate our heaven to our earth? In this case, the benefits and the things we're gaining from our virtual communities, how do we channel them? First of all, of course, to those around us, to our immediate families and our friends, then to our neighbors and things like that. Just how do we make sure that we then don't get so much plugged in and we ignore the local communities, because wherever that is, right, whether you want to go and be attending church physically in the Rock Tower, wherever you are going to have a local community. Whether you attend the church,
right. Yeah.
Whether you attend virtually and you live in, for the sake of argument, Amsterdam, and so you never come to the Rock Tower, you do have a local community.
Local community, yeah.
You have people around you. Yeah,
I like that. I honestly like that, because that question, as you said, we probably do not have the answer for it now, and we've actually run out of time. So, but it's something that we should really try to explore and see because it's important to not just focus on the community that you're part of virtually, right? Because you can't just look yourself up and just be online, but you have to think of your local community as well. How are you being part of that? What are you bringing on the table to those people? So thank you very much, Prof, for that. This is a conversation that we need to continue, but unfortunately, our time is fast spent. So guys, don't go away. When we come back, it will be our Spotlight Minutes. See you in a few seconds. Hello, sis. Good morning.
Minister Zuby, Sister
Good to see you again.
The way that Desiree calls my name, it makes me feel like, I don't know.
I know. Minister Zuby.
Yeah.
That's all right. How are you?
Good to have you on the show again. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good,
again.
Good.
Yes,
Please welcome our guest.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know Prof is like, yes, you said this is your Spotlight Minute and you're gonna go for it. Anyway, thank you for joining us this morning. It's the Spotlight Minutes. You know how this roll anyway, so you're not a guest. Let's say you're not a stranger here, so you know what it is. It is how many questions you can go over in under 30 seconds. So right now we have 7 questions answered so far. So let's see if we can get over 7. Prof will read out the questions as always, and if you're not sure of a question, just say pass so you can read another one. But bear in mind, time is of essence, okay? So I will tell you when your time starts, but the timer will be on your screen, and if you can't see it, don't worry about it. I'll tell you when the time starts and when you need to stop, okay? Minister Zuby, are you ready?
Ready to go?
Sis, are you ready?
Yes, she is. Let's go.
I think that's a yes. Okay,
ready.
So
Let's go.
All right, so your time starts now.
What's your favorite website?
Google.
What's your favorite city?
Freetown.
What's your ultimate dream job?
Resort manager.
What was the last show that you binge watched?
Line of Duty.
Who's your favorite celebrity?
Thierry Henry.
What's your favorite hobby?
Watching TV.
What's a random food you hate?
Pineapple pizza.
Time up.
Yeah, she got to 7, didn't she?
She did.
Just about it. Well done. You know, you could have done. I thought she was going to get to 8.
She was going up to 8.
Yeah, you could have done 8, but you were just kind of taking your time.
That was good. That was really good. Good.
You know what, baby? I think we need to make this thing harder. Everybody, look at how many people we've got on 7.
No, Prof, you know what? It's because they're watching this show. They're all practicing. They're probably taking some tests, like practicing before they come on the show. That's
you know what's next then? That means the challenge now. Is there anybody that comes on this show? Please go for it. Right? We've got 3 people on 7. I mean, when everybody's special, nobody's special, right? So
I know, yes. Well done, sis. Thank
well
you
done, Desiree.
much.
Good.
Thank you.
You could have done 8. You could have done 8.
Yes. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in service, okay? Take care.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Oh wow. Well done, Desiree. That was so
good. You did well.
Honestly,
you did well.
I really wanted her to get over that 7. But anyway, it's all good. It just means that we have 3 people winning at the moment. So it's Gozi, Desiree, and Mayowa. Guys,
you know what? Maybe we're going to get them back to do a shootout if we can't get some.
So, yeah. I think we should do that. Honestly, guys, what do you think? Please let us know if you would like us to do that. I think that would be great. So thank you so much, Desiree, for joining us today. Thank you, our viewers. As always, it's time for service. I had fun today. The conversation on community, guys, let's start thinking about about what it means to us as individuals. And as Prof said, what is it exactly that you are going to do to ensure that your local community doesn't suffer from you moving on to a virtual community? Yeah. So Prof, over to you now to take us into service.
Thank you, Vivi. So yes, it's time again. We're still in the month of experiencing the resurrection power of the Lord. And, you know, we've had a great month so far, combined with what we'll be discussing on Wednesday, live classes and in the live groups. And this Sunday is not going to be any different. Pastor Demi is ready all over again to give us something. Can't wait for it, baby. I know you can't as well. So don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Guys. I'll see you on this other service. God bless you.
See you guys. Thank you. Bye.